Hey girls, so first two exercises we learned vertical and horizontal translation, shifting. Last two exercises we looked at vertical and horizontal dilation. So today we're going to combine everything that we've learned today into a combination of transformations like that. So question 2, it says find the equation of the transformed function where f of x is equal to, and then it's reflected in the x-axis and vertically dilated with scale factor 4. Now before I do this question, I just want to point out, see how the description is given. So if the description is given to you, just follow the description order. So in this instance, it's reflected in the x-axis. So that means, remember, if it's reflected in the x-axis, you just have to put it minus in front because it means it's just flipped upside down. So put a minus in front, and then after that, it says vertically dilated with scale factor of 4. So vertical dilation means you're just putting a number in front. So in this case, it would just be that. So that would be your answer, okay? Similarly for question B, it says it's reflected in the y-axis. If it's reflected in the y-axis, remember you're just putting a minus inside the x. So let's do that. And then horizontally dilated with scale factor of 3. So that means, remember, the number inside next to the x, okay? But the dilation factor is 1 over a. So in this case, if it says 3, you would have to put 1 over 3 with the x. And remember, the question is to the power of 5. So you would have to simplify that, which in this case, let's have a look at 3 now. It says find the equation of each transform function. Let's have a look at 3a. So you've got, oh, I read the question wrong. You've got x cubed is translated 3 units down. So 3 units down means you're taking the graph, you're putting it 3 units down, which we learned in the first exercise. And then 4 units to the left means inside the bracket, you're going to have to put plus 4 because you're moving to the left, to the power of 3. So that will be your equation. Okay, nice and simple. Question 3f, we've got fx is equal to 1 over x. So I'll just write that down first. And then vertically dilated by a factor of 2 means you're just putting or multiplying by 2. So that's the same thing as putting 2 on top. And then horizontally dilated by a factor of 3 means, remember once again, you're putting the number next to the x. If it's by a factor of 3, that means you're going to put 1 over 3 at the bottom next to the x. Simplify that. This is the same thing as doing 2 divided by x over 3. So remember, if you're dividing two fractions, put it over 1. Inside, inside goes to the bottom. Outside, outside multiplied goes to the top. So that will be your equation. Now, from question 4, it says describe the transformation of y equals x cubed. In question E, describe it if you get to that. So I've written a note here. When you're drawing the graph or describing an equation, the order matters. So the order in which you want to describe it is in this order. So you want to describe the horizontal dilation, then the horizontal translation, vertical dilation, then the vertical translation. So let's do that. Now before you do this question, the little tricky part, which I got wrong, is you always want to write it in this form. So inside this bracket, you want to write it like this. So 6 is fine, but see how got 2 as a common factor? So you want to take the 2 out and then factorize inside. You want to write it like that before you pursue the question, or you're going to get the description wrong. So always do that first. And then now, as you can see, this is what you want to explain first. So as a description, that's a horizontal dilation. You don't have to say compression or stretched. Dilation is fine. By factor of 1 over 2, remember anything inside becomes 1 over that. And then after that, you've got horizontal 2 units to the right. And then after that, continuing the sentence here, then you want to talk about the vertical dilation of 6. And then you've got the last one translated 5 units up. Okay, sorry about my writing, but yeah. So that's what you will need to write. Now let's apply this to actual coordinates now. Let's have a look at 6e. Find the new coordinate if you're substituting it into this. All right? So once again, before you do the question, always look inside the bracket. You need to factorize that, just like what we've done here. So let's rewrite that. So you've got minus 2f bracket 2 bracket x minus 2 minus 3. So from here, remember this is your x, this is your y. Let's go in the order again. So your first step, that's your horizontal dilation. So if it's a 2, that means on the actual graph you're dividing by 2, because remember the dilation is about a factor of 1/2, or just halving it. So that means from 8 it becomes 4. Then after that, step number 2, this means you're getting the point, shifting it by 2 units to the right. So that's plus 2. So that's the end of my horizontal transformation. So my first x-coordinate is 6. Now let's have a look at the y-coordinate transformation. So starting with that, that's you multiplying by that much to the y-coordinate. So in this case, that's minus 12 times minus 2. That's 24. And then after that, you're getting that point, shifting it 3 units down. Okay, so that would be your answer. Let's have a look at 7e now. Now with question 7, it says given y equals f of x, find the new coordinates of x and y if the function is, question E. Now you're given a whole lot of description there. So once again, when you're given the description, you have to follow the description order, okay? So we're not doing what we've done here. We're just going by the order that's given to us. So it says in the first part, reflected in the x-axis. Reflected in the x-axis means that, which graphically means you're flipping the graph upside down. Now, if you're flipping the graph upside down, so for example, let's say, for instance, I had that, and then it becomes flipped. Is it the x or the y values that are affected? It's actually y. Because, for example, this is 1, 1. If it becomes flipped, it becomes 1 and minus 1. So keep that in mind. So if it's reflected in the x-axis, my first step is to now then write minus y. Okay, and then you've got the x. So that's my step number 1, reflected in the x-axis. Step number 2, it says in the next sentence, vertically dilated with scale factor of 8. That just means you're getting the y value and you're timesing by 8. Remember? 8y. So that's my step number 2 that I've done. Step number 3, translated 6 units to the left. So that's obviously x-coordinate that you're moving. So if you're moving 6 units to the left, that's literally what you're doing. So you're taking that and you're moving it 6 units, which is minus 6. All right. And then I'll write the next one as well. And then step number 4, what does it say after that sentence? Horizontally dilated with scale factor of 5. So that means once again with the x-coordinate, if it's horizontally dilated with scale factor of 5, that's literally what you're multiplying by. So literally multiply 5 by that, okay? And then you've got, and then translated 1 unit down obviously means from here you're taking 1 down, minus 1. So if I simplify this, I'll just do it here. I've got 5x minus 30 and minus 8y minus 1. All right, so a little confusion that might occur from here is, you know how it says horizontally dilated with scale factor of 5? You don't write 1/5 for the actual coordinate. You multiply by 5 directly because it's the actual image that you're moving. It's not you putting it back into the equation. You're actually moving the actual point. So you're not doing the opposite. You're literally multiplying that number directly to the coordinate itself. So that's the confusion that I want to clear it up. So let's have a look at question 9a. It says, find the equation of the transform function using the correct order of transformation for question 9a. F of x is equal to 1/x. Now, in the question, it says it's reflected in the y-axis, translated up 3 units, and dilated vertically by scale factor of 9. What you need to realize in that sentence is which order comes first. If you look over here, the first step that we want to apply is anything that's horizontally dilated. So in the question, reflected in the y-axis is your first transformation you want to apply. So if it's reflected in the y-axis, that means you're substituting minus x. So that's the first step you want to do, which is in order. So that's just that. And then it says translated 3 units up, and then dilated vertically by a scale factor of 9. You want to do the dilation first after that. So dilated vertically by factor of 9 means you're just multiplying the function by 9. And then you want to write translated up by 3 units, which is that. So that's how you would do it when it comes to doing the transformation in order. Let's do the same thing for question 9D. We got y equals to root x. So reading the question, he has a vertical translation of 4 up, horizontal translation of 4 to the left, a reflection in the y-axis, and a vertical dilation factor of 9. So once again, horizontal dilation comes first. In this sentence is the reflection in the y-axis. So we want to apply minus x first, which is just the same thing as just putting a minus in front. Second translation is horizontal translation, which in this question says horizontal translation of 4. That's the second thing we want to apply in the sentence, which means you're going to put inside the bracket plus 4 like that. Yep. And then we want to work with the vertical dilation, which is 9 in this case. So put the 9 in front, and then the last thing you want to do is vertical translation of 4 up. So this is how you get the answer, because it says they want you to do it in order. Let's do the same thing for 9e. So this time we've got f of x is equal to absolute of x. It says translate up by 7 units, dilated horizontally by a factor of 1/6, and then reflecting the x-axis. So the horizontal dilation is what we want to do first, which in this case is, it says 1/6, so that means we want to put 6 inside next to the x. And then reflected in the x-axis is your next step, which is your vertical dilation, which just means you're putting a minus in front of the whole thing. And then lastly, translate up by 7 units. So that's what you want to do. So if it says in order, you're following that. So once again, if you want to find the domain and range, you have to sketch the graph out. I mean, if you're doing this at home, you can obviously use Desmos and then figure it out. But if this was an exam question, obviously you can't. So let's sketch this out. So the first step when it comes to sketching, transformation order, if I was doing this, I would want to draw that first. And then after that, horizontally dilate it by 2. And then after that, I would draw step number 2, the vertical dilation. So multiply the y value by 5. And then after that, I'll take whatever graph I have and then put it 2 units down. So let's do that one step at a time. So let's draw that. But as a point of reference, I'm going to have the 1 and the 1 as a coordinate. Then after that, if it's minus, you're just flipping it. No, you're not flipping it upside down. Sorry, my bad. Flipping it upside down means minus outside of the absolute of x. This is a tricky part. If it's just minus x inside, that means you're getting this graph and you're reflecting in the y-axis. But if you notice, if you reflect it in the y-axis, you're going to get the same graph. So that's the tricky part right there. That's the same graph as basically that. You can check it out in Desmos. Alright, so I've done that step. Now let's get the horizontal dilation by, in this case, if it says 2, it means it becomes a half, remember? So the higher the number, the more thinner the graph gets, which means I'm going to get that bit, and it's going to go through half and 1 now for that graph. So I've got this in black. So I've done that step. And then if I've got 5, I'm going to get the y value, in this case 1, and times by 5. So instead of going through half and 1, it's going to go through half and 5. So let's just say half and 5 is here, right? Very thin graph. And then from there, let's take it 2 units down. So as my final graph, the really thin graph is now going to go through minus 2, like that. Obviously, I don't need the x-intercept and I need the y-intercept, that's fine, which is there. As you can see, to find the domain and range here, domain, you can see it's going to take every single x values, all right? So that's all real, so that's just this. But the range, obviously you can see, just starts from minus 2 and up. So I can write including minus 2, so it goes all the way up. Yeah, so that's all you need to do, all right? Just draw a rough sketch of the graph, but it's the transformation order and how to reflect it that's important to get the actual graph, to read the domain and range. I went to 10C, it's a hyperbola, something you should be able to try on your own, so I'll leave it at that. The last part I want to go through is 11a, just quickly. 11a, just by completing the square, write the equation of the parabola y equals to x squared plus 2x minus 7 in the form of bracket transformation. Yeah, so in order to do this, girls, just quickly, get this bit, halve the 2. So remember your template? That's your template. We've got plus, halve the 2, which is 1. Now, we've got the minus 7. But if you expand this out, you're going to get x squared plus 2x plus 1. See how I have a plus 1? I don't want that. So to counter that, write minus 1 next to the minus 7. And then that should be it. So your final equation is x plus 1 squared. This is minus 8. And that's how you do it. The reason why they want you to write it like that is, as you can see, is because you're getting the graph parabola from y equals to x squared. You're shifting it by 1 unit to the left and then shifting it down by 8 units. So it's very useful to be able to write a regular quadratic equation in that form to give you the translation. So this is a technique I want you to apply for 11b as well as 14b. All right? Long lesson, girls. That's all I have to explain today. Hopefully that made sense. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.